Welcome back to episode 7 of the Family Only series. Last we left off, everyone was still trying to get over a bout of muscle parasites. The colony was slowly expanding, and Amelia was pregnant with the family's 4th child. There are still a few plans that need to be finished, but hopefully they can get to those soon. Let's jump back into the last thing that was happening. Jane was chasing Amelia down, yelling insults at the top of her lungs. Jane has finally run out of energy and has given up chasing her mother. Thankfully that ended pretty quickly. At the same time, Amelia just hit the 3rd trimester of her pregnancy, so the new child should be here shortly. Amelia's muscle parasites are at 257 out of 300%, so she's just about over the illness. Hopefully just one more 10 and she'll be cured. Unfortunately, Jane is only at 148%, so she still has quite a while until she's cured. Amelia has collapsed outside with the pigs. At first I thought this was the beginning of her labor, but it's way too early for that. The combination of the late stage pregnancy and the muscle parasites was just too much and she collapsed. Jake is going out to help her though. He is in a pretty terrible mood right now, so hopefully he doesn't break. Amelia should be giving birth pretty soon, but not quite yet. She's got to be getting pretty close to the end at least. Now that there's some room for another pig, let's keep this piglet around. It does need a name though. I think we're going to call this one Pigskin, after all the fun pigskins that have visited the colony so far. The colony's getting dangerously low on food. There's basically nothing left in the freezer or in the hoppers except a couple small animals that have been hunted by Jake. If this problem doesn't get fixed soon, there's going to be some serious issues. Oh look, they're having yet another party. They really need something to distract them from the fact that they are basically out of food, and there's not a whole lot for them to harvest or hunt. Hopefully they don't eat too much at the party. During the party they talked about vomiting again. They also talked about billiards, tomahawks, and board games. I'm assuming since chess is the only board game they've seen in years, that must have been what they were talking about. Jensen and Jane also joked about friendly comedians. Where did Jensen and Jane see a comedian before? Unless their parents told them about comedians and they somehow understand. I mean, Jane's only 3 years old after all. Wallace topped it off by insulting Jensen's courageousness. That sounds like quite the party they had. Jane's muscle parasites are just about gone, and she's the last one to get rid of it. One more tend, and it should be completely cleared out of the colony. And it wasn't a moment too soon. There's no food in the hoppers and no backup food in the freezers, so they're left with little choice but to hunt whatever's left on the map. Unfortunately, there's almost nothing left on the map, except these boomalopes. There's nothing they can do but go for a boomalope hunt. Good luck, Jake. While this is happening, I just noticed Jake is 22 now. It's crazy to think how young he is, and all that he's done in the colony so far. Not to mention the fact that he's got 3 children, with a 4th on the way. Hopefully he makes it a few more years at least. Alright, Jane's parasites are cured, and that means they've finally been eradicated from the colony. I'm sure they're all very thankful to be rid of that. A member of the Empire has just crashed outside north of the colony. If they rescue him and help heal up his wounds, they could get a bit of goodwill from this. It shouldn't take much, so it's definitely worth going for. Let's send Jake out to help this guy. His name is Procuseless. That's a bit of a strange name, but I suppose it's not for me to judge. I hope you get well soon and leave as soon as possible. Jensen has just had his 10th birthday. That means another growth moment. There are so many good options for passions and some fantastic options for traits. As good as they are, it's not that hard to choose here. Let's bump up social so he can become the moral guide. Having optimist also helps for that, since moral guide will reduce expectation mood boost. Artistic makes sense here as well, since he already has a passion for it and the colony needs someone to make art. And of course shooting is a no-brainer here. It's all hands on deck for defending this place. As for trait, there are several good options, but this one's still an easy pick. In my opinion, tough is the best trait in the game in any run. Let's build an art bench for him to practice, and then it's time for a birthday party. Everybody get outside. It's time for a lantern party. Well, it's probably a bit late for a party, but that's okay. And it was a beautiful party. Happy 10th birthday, Jensen. Just as Jensen hit 10, the new baby decided it's time to arrive in the world. Jake, wake up. Your wife is about to give birth in the pig pen. Please, go help her. Amelia has given birth to a healthy baby boy. That's great because they don't have very much medicine left to be dealing with any infant illness. The suggested name is Gleb, and I'll be honest, I find that name pretty hilarious for a baby. It's probably not great to name a baby for that reason, but I'm going with it. Welcome to the family, Gleb. Immediately after Gleb arrived, so did a boom rat. Maybe it's a sign that the colony needs a pet boom rat for Jake to train. Again. Let's have Jake continue to smash up any wreckage on the map so they can start bringing back more slag. Getting a colonist with mining is still top on the list of priorities, but so far the opportunity hasn't presented itself. Maybe Wallace will be able to work on mining. A group of Neanderthals from Wennels have arrived. I'm sure they don't just want to burn everything down and steal all the valuables. Unfortunately for them, Amelia and Jake have had enough of their garbage and won't give them the opportunity to prove otherwise. They're in a shoot first, ask no questions kind of mood today. Whoops, Amelia had a minor foam accident. Don't mind that. Just as a side note, it's a bit annoying when the hotkeys are different based on whether you have one or multiple pawns selected. But that's neither here nor there. Very easy defense for Amelia and Jake. Nice work, team. A bulk goods trader has arrived from our trading partners over at Yulia. This is good timing because there's basically no steel in the colony, and the family needs quite a bit to continue expanding. Without that mining pawn, there aren't many other ways to acquire what they need. Let's sell off all this leather again and get as much steel as we can. $125 is going to have to suffice for now. At least now they can build the mortar, so they're going to need to start building some explosive shells. One of the next tasks on the to-do list is getting a growth vat built. They've had the tech for quite a while now, but they've lacked the resources to actually build the thing. They're getting closer to being able to build it, so let's make a bit of space and plan out where it's going to go. If they move a shelf, they should be able to squeeze it in next to the batteries. Jensen's art bench is finished. It's a little bit like buying a child their first set of paints and brushes. He has an interest in art, so they may as well foster it. Try to help him grow into an artist. It's a surprisingly useful skill to have in the colony, so after a while, it should provide a pretty substantial return. On top of that, auto door tech is finished. Truthfully, it's going to be pretty difficult to install auto doors in the colony given the current lack of raw resources, but it will be nice to have in the future. Now they can start working on sterile materials. Let's get the first art project going so Jensen can start practicing. His first few pieces of art likely won't be very good, but after some practice, he should have a reasonable skill and start producing some decent art. Meanwhile, Jake is still out smashing up Rex, trying to get the family more steel for growth vats and gene engineering. Oh, and also that geothermal still needs to be built. So many unfinished projects. It looks like the relationship between Amelia and Jake has dropped quite a bit over the past year or so. They were at 100, and now they're in the low 50s. I guess that is expected in this sort of environment, where they're focused on so many things other than each other. Amelia's been busy teaching the children the skills they'll need to thrive, and Jake has been spending most of his time outside the walls of the colony. Also, as a side note, I don't think Amelia likes her daughter, Jane, very much. 86 for Jensen, 75 for Gleb, 74 for Wallace, 17 for Jane. Ouch. I think that insulting spree is still causing some animosity between them. Amelia has been teaching Wallace how to use an SMG, which should come in pretty handy in the near future. She also showed him how to reload a rocket launcher. Definitely critical information for a young child. Wallace has just turned 7 years old, so he finally gets his first growth moment. The children have been receiving a high quality education, so their choices for passions and traits have been fantastic so far. They haven't been perfect, but there have so far been good options for all the children. In this case, they're actually near perfect, with Wallace getting the option for a passion for plants, which the family desperately needs, and throw in a passion for shooting. It's pretty good. For traits, it's a choice between quick sleeper and fast learner. But fast learner is the obvious choice here, since it will allow him to have very high skills before he even becomes an adult. Wallace can now officially become our full-time plants pawn. This is going to be a huge benefit for the family. Jensen is busy at work practicing his artistic skills. Carving sculptures is probably a bit of a steep learning curve for a young child who's never held a chisel in his life, but I'm sure he'll figure it out. He's already level 1, so things should level up pretty quickly. I might regret this later, but let's throw Jensen a work drive, just to increase the work speed even more. Amelia's busy at work crafting those explosive shells. Those will be hugely beneficial to help defend the colony. At the same time, Jensen just finished his first sculpture. It's actually normal quality, which is really not bad at all. 50 beauty is pretty solid. Let's check the art out. It's named Lullaby, which I suppose is a fitting name for a sculpture made by a child. This sculpture shows a solitary comedian sitting on a table near a field. The work seems to express injury. Well, it's very simple, but it's his first work, so it gets a pass. Let's put it in the dining room so everyone can remember his first piece of art. Let's get Jensen back to work on more art. It would be nice to get at least one sculpture for each bedroom and one for the hospital. His artistic skill is already level 2, so it should keep going up pretty quickly. In the meantime, some visitors have arrived from Yulia. Let's see what they brought to trade. Finally, someone has brought medicine to trade. The colony still desperately needs more medicine. Now that Wallace has a passion for plants and fast learner, he should very quickly get to level 8 and have the ability to grow herbal medicine. But until then, they're going to need some medicine, especially if another plague or infant illness hits. We will take all of your medicine. Thank you very much, visitors. My first instinct was to deconstruct this sculpture since it's only poor quality, but I couldn't help but check the art description, and I'm not gonna lie, I cannot deconstruct it now. Jensen made a sculpture for his dad. It's called The Age of Jake. On this sculpture is an image of 8 beasts completely encircling a township. Jake wears a terrifying expression. The image contrasts togetherness with starvation. This representation relates to Jake's town being attacked by criminals on the 9th of December. 5503. That is incredibly awesome. He immortalized an event of his father defending the colony from criminals. The contrast of togetherness and starvation is surprisingly deep interpretation of events for a 10-year-old boy. It's fitting that they're still out of food too. I have to say, I don't think Amelia is getting enough credit in this one, since she was definitely there helping too. But hopefully he'll make up for it and make Amelia her own sculpture as well. It might be poor quality, but obviously we have to save this one. Let's keep it in the parents' bedroom. And if that last bit wasn't enough, we have this touching but somber moment where Amelia has taken time to go visit the grave of Boink. The family misses you, Boink. I bet Boink has been reincarnated as a Thrumbo by now. Maybe a rhinoceros. Jake has been spending some time educating Wallace lately. He went over haggling techniques and then talked about sign language with Wallace. It would be nice if sign language was actually useful in this game. Maybe for pawns who lose the ability to speak. It wouldn't be frequently used, but it would be a neat feature. They also talked about comms console etiquette, which I just love. Imagine a child trolling people on the comms console. Of course, they topped it all off with a conversation about naughty words. I don't know if he was teaching Wallace naughty words or talking about things he shouldn't say. Maybe it ties into the comms console etiquette. But still, I suspect it's the former, given what we know about the family. The family hasn't been accumulating very much honor, and they've been here quite a while now. I think it might be time to build a prison and start giving prisoners to the Empire for honor. They're going to need somewhere to store them in the short term, so let's build a small prison up on the northern wall. It doesn't need to be very big, so let's just fill in this section right here with a room. Let's try to keep the double exterior wall going though. Amelia started working on the new room, and with perfect timing, raiders arrived. It's the decay wasters again. You'd think after all the failed raids, they'd give up and go find an easier target. I guess they just assume that since it's just 2 adults and a bunch of children, it's easy pickings. Now that I think about it, not that many people escape the raids to make it back to report the news. Maybe they keep checking to find out what happened to their missing raiders. The children are still too young and vulnerable to help out with these raids, so Amelia and Jake are going to have to handle it. After the stun, the first raider was easy to pick off. Clearly the rest of the raiders were confused in the chaos and couldn't decide whether to charge or retreat. It wasn't until after the second fell that they gathered themselves and charged. Jake and Amelia fell back to the walls. The raiders almost made it through the doors, only to have them slam shut in their faces at the last moment. A quick flank move, and the last few raiders were easy to pick off. Maybe if they let this last raider make it back, they will... Nope. Never mind. All the raiders are dead. Riding the adrenaline of the last raid, Amelia and Jake have decided to push their luck and go for a mega sloth hunt. They desperately need the meat, and the leather would be quite helpful. The problem is, it's a bit dangerous for just 2 pawns. Between the SMGs and the stun, they were able to make quick work of the mega sloth, much faster than I thought. At least now they'll have food for a few days. Amelia's already working on the heavy fur duster after butchering the mega sloth. I think it is probably about time to switch the 2 adults back to a normal pregnancy rate. Up until now they've been trying for children, but after the 4th child and the soon-to-be built growth vat, I think it makes sense to go back to normal. For all the future pregnancies, we can try to focus on using the growth vat for children. Finish one raid and another one shows up. That's life on the rim for you, I suppose. This time it's the Neanderthals from Wennels again. I don't know how they have high enough numbers to keep sending wave after wave at the family, but here we are. Amelia almost brought Gleb into battle. That would have been a bit traumatic for everyone. The raiders have separated and all taken different paths to assault the colony. That should make it pretty easy to get pickoffs without risking the safety of Jake and Amelia. These last couple raiders are taking so many hits and refuse to go down. Alright, finally there they go. As a side note, the colonists don't know it, but the last raider's name is Ulax Oskokam. As far as names go, that's pretty top tier. If they knew, I bet they'd choose to name one of their children that. Back to less exciting but equally important news. The prison walls are finished, and now Amelia just needs to get the floor put in. Then a couple of beds later, and the prison will be ready to store a few raiders to save for the Empire. I really don't know what the Empire does with the prisoners, and frankly, I'm not sure I want to know. It's probably not great. Let's put in the carpet that matches the orange of the prison beds. Pastel orange should work. Now just a couple of beds. The double walls are finished. That's great timing for the prison to finish because yet another raid has arrived. This time it's the Chosculeño pack again. They are pretty persistent, aren't they? The traps did most of the work before the colonists even pushed through the doors. Jake and Amelia only had to take out 2, and the rest are running for their lives. That was a quick and clean raid. The beds in the prison aren't finished, but with an additional sleeping spot, there's enough space to collect a couple prisoners for the Empire. Like I said, good timing for the prison to be finished. Let's briefly check in on what our colonists have been chatting about. Jake and Wallace chatted about fighting cannibals. I love this recurring thought that the colonists are convinced that the raiders are here to eat them, even though they have absolutely zero evidence to support this idea. All they have is fear and suspicion, and now they're passing that on to their children, which I'm not sure if it's awful or awesome. Not long after this, Wallace shared beliefs with his mom about the link between history and cannibalism. Classic. Hears a story from his dad, then passes it on to his mom as a fact. I'm sure she agrees with it, given their general fear about being eaten by raiders. Oh no, not again. The pigs have been infected with the plague. I'm pretty sure it's the boom rats doing it. So far, every time a boom rat has entered into the animal pen, the pigs end up with plague. I mean, it's not how it works, so it's probably a coincidence, but, you know, who knows? Pigskin, Oink, and one of the extra piglets are infected. Let's make sure at least Pigskin and Oink survive this time. Hopefully what happened to Boink does not happen to them. Assuming the pigs survive, we're at a point where it'd be reasonable to grow the pig population a bit and then harvest full-grown pigs for butchering instead of culling the piglets immediately. In order to do this, we're going to need more room in the animal pen. There's plenty of space to expand to the southeast, so let's build some more walls, then open it up for them. Alright, that should be enough. Of course, by setting up the prison, we invited prison breaks to start happening, but I didn't expect them to happen so soon. Our 2 prisoners just want to get home, and you can't blame them for that. But Jake, Amelia, and the children all believe that these are savage cannibals who just want to eat them, so you also can't really blame them for what's about to happen. In their eyes, they can't just let them escape. It would endanger the family and anyone else who might be a victim of the cannibal raiders. Even Jensen and Wallace are getting involved in this one. The family decided that these 2 are just too dangerous to keep around for the Empire. Better to try again later. That's the end of episode 7. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for updates on all future videos. For those of you who made it all the way to the end, please consider checking out my Patreon to help support the creation of more videos like this one. You'll find the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and see you for the next one.